making the rounds around the globe. Senate President Ahmed Lawan said the lingering insecurity in Nigeria is partly fueled by funding activities of drug barons. According to the Senate President, who hosted the new chairman of National Drug Law Enforcement Agency, retired Brigadier General Buba Marwa, drug barons provide insurgent groups such as Boko Haram bandits and kidnappers with arms and ammunition to undertake criminal activities. The Senate says that drug barons who engage in trafficking heroin, cannabis, and cocaine have made Nigeria a major transit route for applying their illicit trade. He has promised funding to tackle the problem.
The drug situation is not properly factored into the security architecture. We look at the other segments, but forget that this is the causative area that needs to be equally attended to. Nigeria is in a state of siege today. Yes, you have the insurgency and the banditry and kidnapping. It is behind the criminalities, which is everywhere now. We need barracks, we need operational items for work, scanning machines, forensics, polygraph machines, because we must test, we must use lie detectors on our officials.
The process of such activities fund terrorism, they fund banditry. You wonder how the bandits would have RPGs and this massive arms that they have. How? Definitely, these are acquisitions provided by some people, some barons, not the bandits themselves. My personal opinion is NDLEA should be in the league of EFCC, ICPC, that kind of thing.
Right, welcome back from that. Tundu, this problem staring at all of us in the face. Banditry, now they're saying drug barons in the midst of all of this.
Well, I appreciate the causal link that was drawn between retired General Marwa, between drugs and insecurity, because a lot of the insurrectionists that we have in this country, terrorists, bandits, kidnappers, whatever we want to call them, even armed robbers, are high as a kite before they go attacking people. They have to deaden any vestige of human, milk of kindness that they possibly have by taking drugs. So I accept that argument from General Marwa. However, the Senate President, Ahmed Lawan's argument is a little bit more tenuous, that connection he's trying to make. I don't like the term drug baron, by the way. I've never liked the term drug baron. I think it sort of elevates them. They're common criminals. Let's not call them barons. Same as how I don't like the term bandits, which kind of diminishes, the gravity of what these people are doing. But that's an aside. I feel that the Senate President's link that he's trying to draw is tenuous. It's not convincing. I'm more convinced by the statement of the governor of Katsina last year that it's actually politicians behind all this, Mr. Bello Masari. And then Matawale of Zamfara State, he said if Nigerians knew who was behind the insecurity, our jaws would drop. My mouth is not agape when I hear that drug barons are behind it. So therefore, that's not the answer. The answer is something more shocking than drug barons. For me, the drug industry is a business. They're businessmen like any other. What profits do they gain by having children kidnapped from school and what have you? I think their relationship with these people, with these criminals, is to supply them with drugs, and that's how they make their money. I don't think that they are behind what we're experiencing in this country.
Dr. Abati?
Well, first, I think we need to call on the Senate President, Senator Ahmed Lawan, that if he is convinced and if he has any information that those persons he refers to as drug barons are the ones who are behind criminality, either you call it kidnapping or banditry or terrorism, he has an obligation, considering the exalted position that he occupies, to share that information with the security agencies. Yes, you are right. In recent times, we've had, governors also saying that certain privileged persons are the ones who are funding the bandits. So that's very important security, national intelligence information. That's the first part of it. Two, General Marwa, the chairman of the National Drug Law Enforcement Agency, was paying a courtesy visit on the Senate President when all of this transpired. And he appealed to the Senate President to support the NDLEA Amendment Act, which is before the National Assembly. And it's good to see the Senate President also offering support in that regard, because indeed, as General Marwa pointed out, the law needs to be strengthened to the extent that, apart from the drug trade, drug addiction has also become a very serious problem in this country. In a report that was done by a survey done by the National Bureau of Statistics in collaboration with the National Center on Research and Information of Substance Abuse, it was reported that about 15% of Nigerians are now addicted to all forms of drugs, from codeine to rofinol to all kinds of other substances, cocaine, heroin, cannabis, and that's a very serious matter. And the age range of persons involved is between 25 and 39. People who are supposed to be in the productive age, they take drugs, and they become a liability to society. Now, that in itself is a challenge, not just for society, but also for government, to make sure that all the relevant agencies do their work, and they have given the necessary support for them to be able to do so. And that is why, when Senator Lawan reported to, referred to customs, immigration, the police, the NDLEA being able to do their work effectively, that's an important point in my view. The sad part of it, with regard to drug addiction in Nigeria, is that, look, Nigeria used to be described as a transit point. There was a time in this country we used to say, oh, Nigeria is just a transit point. It's not, Nigerians don't consume drug. But people consume drug now. And you even be surprised the way some people behave, even people occupying certain positions. I wonder sometimes whether, some of our political leaders too, whether they don't, indulge in some of these substances. But it's not for government alone. We need to, deepen the level of advocacy. Churches, in particular, have a role to play. Other religious bodies have a role to play. And parents will need to be very vigilant because at the end of the day, many of these secondary school students, there have been reports of even secondary school students taking weed, taking all kinds of cheap drugs, including some that you will not even believe that anybody will use. Codeine, tramadol. These are very popular substances with young people. And it's unfortunate that this is where we have found ourselves. And any effort by General Marwa and his team to deal with this menace is welcome.
All right, it's welcome. We need to fight the drug scourge in Nigeria. That's all on news headlines. Take a short break now. When we return, we'll have Rotodiri Michael Wilson, Adeso Omoro, Aaron Akiril to give us updates on Africa, global business, COVID-19, sporting activities all across the globe. Stay with us. All right, welcome back. Still the morning show right here on the Rise News channel. Rotos, we'll come over to you this morning. Rotos, how are you doing?
I am fine, Rufai. Good morning to you. Good morning, Tundu. Good morning, Doctor. Good morning to all our viewers. We kick off with the exchange rate. We saw an appreciation on the I&E window. That's the investors and exporters window by about, I think it's about 1%. It opened at about 411 naira to the dollar and then closed at 406 is where the exchange rate closed on the investors and exporters window. It's being attributed to, if you look at volumes as well, volumes also increased. I think volumes dipped from about 55, that is the amount of volumes of foreign exchange traded on the I&E window. Tuesday was about $55 million, fell by 44% to Wednesday to about $35 million, but then now increased on Thursday by up to $66 million as far as the trading was concerned. So trading jumped as well. Hopefully, we can also go and take a look at the charts. Let's take a look at the charts of the I&E window exchange rates there to show our viewers exactly what there it is. So yeah, so it closed at 406. So you can see the appreciation, about 1%. Now, this is being attributed to the rally we've seen in crude oil prices. Michael Wilson will take you through the decision that OPEC made yesterday. But if we take a look at crude oil prices, you'll see that it's now, look at that, Brent crude in the middle at $67.28. Crude is now up year to date about 30%. So this is very good for us in terms of not only appreciation in our FX reserves, but also we're seeing a slight strengthening, again, I emphasize the slight strengthening in the exchange rate. But now, what's the flip side of this? The flip side is that as crude oil prices rise, well, we've also seen what's been happening at the downstream sector. We had a special in Abuja where we were looking at fuel queues this week. I think it was Chinemeriam Joseph that did that report, where you were. Now this is images from the report that we did. All this week, we've seen fuel stations closed, and we've seen fuel queues increasing. And one of the reasons why is because the landing cost of fuel is rising, and it's been rising because of the rising cost of crude oil. And that was, I think, the last price we saw for landing costs was about 180 or so. This hasn't factored in this latest increase, this rally, where crude now is almost at $70 a barrel. So you have to now think of the negotiations going on between the labor unions and the federal government, where they've been saying that they're going to be negotiating over the price of fuel. This is going to put further pressure. The crude oil price that we're seeing is going to put further pressure on the federal government and labor union talks, because the federal government is going to be saying, hey, look, you have to look at the economics of the situation whereby crude is rising. The fuel marketers, oil marketers are now closing down shops and rather stations, not selling because they want to see a higher price. We're still at 162 naira per litre, and the landing cost is at 180. You factor in this latest increase, it could possibly go above 200 naira per litre. So that's going to we are seeing the two sides of what happens when you don't have refineries, and on the other end, your currency appreciating as a result of you depending so much on crude oil. Move on to Lagos State. Lagos State made an announcement just in the wee hours of this morning or late yesterday. Two announcements. First is a vehicle assembly. So they signed a deal with CIG Motors, a Chinese company, and that deal is going to see an assembly plant, a vehicle assembly plant, due in 2023, so 2 months from now. It's on the Lagos State website. They announced it. And so it's a job creator. It is going to, as far as economic activity is concerned, we'll see a positive from this. So it's a good move. On the other hand, there was a second announcement that they made, and that is that they are going to launch a new ride-hailing scheme. It's called Lagos Rides. And the scheme is launching with 1,000 SUVs. It's the same deal, the part of this assembly deal that Lagos State has signed up with CIG. Now, the thing is, the assembly's announcement, that is fantastic. We know we need more assembly plants. We need more vehicle assembly plants here. It's a good job creator. But the ride-hailing side is they are launching it with 1,000 SUVs. And I have to, it's a head-scratcher, because if you look at the business model of ride-hailing vehicles, you don't need new vehicles for ride-hailing. If you look at how the private sector has carried this out, the Ubers and the Taxifys, Bolts, and so on, it's existing partnerships with cars that are already on the roads. To add another 1,000 SUVs on the roads, with a congested as we are in Lagos State, you have to wonder. I'm not, some would question, why is Lagos State going into the ride-hailing business? Again, it's a free world. In the United States, in the UK, where Michael Wilson is, they have a public healthcare system which competes with private. So that's fine. But the logic of adding 1,000 SUVs to the roads, when we have got traffic issues, it's a little iffy. But that's our update.
All right, it's a little iffy too to me, because I don't get the analysis. When you look at ride-hailing, the likes of Uber, the likes of the other one in America, Lyft, you always use existing models.
Right.
And even at that, there's still a lot of complaints about pollution and the likes. What Lagos State government should be looking at is, it's about the only biggest metropolis in the world I see that doesn't have a mass transit system. No rail.
Right.
What they should be looking at is completing the rail project, having new carriages so that people can move from coast to coast, and you can make all your money through the rail. Not this ride-hailing thing. It's not going to work. And it's even more iffy for me, Chinese company, because in the end, when you look at it afterwards, in the long analysis of it, money will still leave Nigeria and go back to the China economy, because it's going to be written like that, even if it's a Nigerian subsidiary. When are we going to help a lot of homegrown businesses? It's a model a lot of people are doing. I think in Enugu, they launched one recently. Innocent did with the state government. At least, that one is The money will still be resident here.
Right.
It'll help a lot of people, but this one is quite iffy for me. Lagos is congested already. 1,000 cars on the streets of Lagos, goodness me. And for oil, what is happening is market forces. The NNPC needs to understand that, there's that force of demand and supply. It will creep in. And how long can we hold price? Because price is a concept itself.
So I agree with you that the Vehicle Assembly Plant Initiative with the Chinese group, the CIG, yes, that will create jobs. It will probably translate into other advantages, not just for Lagos, but also for Nigeria. But the one we need to worry about is the Lagos ride-hailing initiative, 1,000 SUVs. Okay, is there a class message indication here?
Right.
Who will use that SUV? We will have loved the government of Lagos State to talk more about the Fourth Mainland Bridge, to talk more about the boat waterway transportation system they've been talking about, and also the metro line that they've been working on. 1,000 vehicles to create jobs through that. How many jobs will you create?
Right.
However, the beneficiaries may be looking forward to it because the arrangement is that those vehicles will be given out by the Lagos State government. And then you pay a certain monthly installment. And after 4 years, the vehicle becomes your own.
Right.
But so one side of it will please some people. But in terms of priorities, it's not so exciting to some people. Now, quickly, yes, news about NAFEX, right? But what is the implication in other ways? That's one. Two, if you look at the price of oil has been rising. But you see that our reserve has been going down. February it went down. It keeps going down consistently. What explains that?
It's because of the rate at which the central bank is the main player in the I&E window. It's supposed to be a free market, of course, with investors that are able to repatriate their funds, but it is what it is. They are the largest provider of volume in the I&E window, and the level to which the central bank has been defending the currency exceeds the level to which crude oil has appreciated and added to our reserves. So the defense of the currency is exceeding how much our reserves are appreciating as a result of crude rising.
Thank you.
Thank you so much, Rochus, for that. We'll move on to Business Update. Michael Wilson will join us from London, but that's going to be after this quick commercial break. Stay with us. All right, welcome back to the Morning Show right here on the Rise News channel. And we'll move on to Business Update. We've got Michael Wilson from Dover, England, I should say. Michael, great to have you. Good to see you once again.
Good morning. Since we last spoke, the news has been very heavy on surprises. You've mentioned OPEC Plus wrong-footed the markets completely by leaving their production cuts intact for another month. They pleased some of the plus of OPEC Plus, like Russia and Kazakhstan, by allowing them to increase their output by 150,000 barrels a day. Oil prices therefore rocketing higher, as you would expect, and you've noted that. Federal Reserve Chairman Jerome Powell chose not to dampen the inflation fires. He didn't, is what he really didn't say. I mean, he just stuck to his line. He didn't say he was alarmed about it. So that messed up the markets quite a lot yesterday. And of course, we have China finally quoting a 6% GDP. That's slightly less than people thought they probably would, but at least they're quoting something they didn't in 2020. So Asia markets, therefore, fairly mixed. Nikkei down about 1.5%, Kospi down about 1%. Shanghai, both about 0.1% lower, Hang Seng down a bit. The China outperformance is all to do with the Congress taking place right now. It's in session and it's announced its targets for the 5-year plan, 6% GDP target, as I mentioned to you. They've also expressed a lot of interest in deepening trade with South Korea and joining something, a regional comprehensive economic partnership, the RCEP, also expected. There are a lot of announcements in China wanting to become much more self-sufficient in terms of semiconductor production. So that's taken, there's this kind of idea that there is a big nascent economy. We don't know a great deal about it, but all the indications are it's growing up. And if that starts to drag in imports, then good for them and good for us too. US recap, that stimulus package is still going through. It's, as I said, it's having a few problems in the Senate right now. It was watered down, as we noticed yesterday. So dovish, not enough, Jerome. Thanks a lot. We'd like to be a lot more dovish. And that saw the markets down by about 1 1/3, NASDAQ down about 2, Dow Jones about 1. And we got the jobs figures today in the US, which I'll come on to slightly later on. I'm going to take you back now to the UK. Budget fallout is continuing. Public spending cuts. Rishi Sunak, the Chancellor, is not really levelling with people, according to the Institute for Fiscal Studies, saying that he should have been a little bit more. You see, once again, you're seeing pictures of the House of Commons, which is a long, long time ago. It doesn't look like that right now, I can assure you, as you saw during the budget, because there's nobody there because of the COVID outbreak and so on. But he's being called Scrooge now. And good news from Deliveroo, choosing London for its IPO. It started life in London. It's a good endorsement, this, really. The food delivery firm has seen prices soar in the pandemic, and its restaurants have been closed to dine-in customers, and therefore little chaps on like this one here on his bike delivering food has come very, very well. It's actually good. It's also an endorsement for what's actually changed in the IPO and stock regulation market here, which is trying to make it more easy for high-tech companies like this. It'll be valued at about £5 billion, which is actually quite big for London, and it's got a dual share system, which means the founders, this is something looking forward, the founders of the company will have a say in future developments and also future ways in which the company actually moves, which is all to the good. Which shot in the arm for London then, it actually choosing London to have its IPO. Watchdogs, we've joined up with the new and Brussels, more spotlight from Apple itself, follows complaints that its App Store is charging people who want to use, as its commercial companies want to use the App Store, too much, and is it a gateway to stopping other companies and stopping competition and so on. Now, we talked about commodities, let's talk about OPEC+. So they surprised in January, and Saudi did it again. Both Brent crude and WTI finishing, latest I looked, $66 and $64 a barrel. But there's going to be a monthly assessment of all this, and Saudi will hold steady with its production for another month. So we will be talking much more about this actually as we go on. OPEC's decision overnight showed impressive unity and a none too subtle warning to markets about making assumptions. Gold looks doomed. Rising US yields overnight look set to doom gold to more losses, and higher bond yields as well, not doing a lot for it. So the day ahead on the all-important jobs figures, non-farm payrolls, priced in about 170,000 rise in unemployment. Bond markets may grant equities a stay of execution. It shows a consensus of about 182,000 jobs being added to the market. But I guarantee you this, as soon as those jobs are added, as soon as those jobs numbers come out looking quite nice, there'll be more worries about inflation. So we have to take our pick. Do we like inflation slightly because it shows that economies are getting back on track again, or do we not like it because we're worried about interest rates going up? So that is the debate which continues. Back to you.
And I want to jump on that debate, Michael, because when you look at what is coming out of America, Jerome Powell was not quite very bullish on this yesterday. He was just trying to be very, very quirky in another form, because those interest rates are big concerns in America. And even more concerned for me with the fact that those interest rates are coming up on the heels of the fact that they have not passed the 1.9 trillion, 2 trillion stimulus package. Because once that is passed, inflation goes up. And definitely you have to increase more interest rates. And that has a knock-on effect on the bond market. So what's your take on that? And for me, what is Deliveroo doing that they'll need an IPO of $10 billion for?
And so your question is about Deliveroo, the valuation of it. Valuation is completely down to the stock market. I mean, it looks at forward earnings. It's a normal kind of mechanism, and it's doing extremely well, and it will probably continue. It's about 5 billion actually, the IPO valuation as we speak right now, pounds that is. But yeah, I mean, it's seizing a gap in the market. As I say, dine-in restaurants have not been working very well, and it will continue. It will probably. Delivery and customer service is something which is obviously heightened during the pandemic, and that's something which will go ahead. I mean, I can't speak for Deliveroo. I'm just saying that's the value on it right now. And you know, people will take it. If they don't feel it's worth it, then they won't invest in it. So it'll be as simple as that. It's a perfect mechanism. My point is, it's a good idea that Deliveroo has chosen London, because what it does is it's the first stock to have its IPO under this new system whereby the founders of the company are guaranteed a say in the company's future rather than just floating, forgetting, and the founders actually move on. So the founders have got a moral and an intellectual stake in the company, which is good. As far as interest rates in the United States are concerned, yeah, maybe. I mean, there are inflationary pressures. I think that the markets were, you know, they're getting so nervous now. They were hoping that Jay Powell would be slightly more dovish than he was. That's all. He reiterated, as you said, everything is said about the central bank helping the markets, which actually pleased them. But there is this threat. My point is that if today's jobs figures show any marked improvement beyond the expectation, then there will be worries about inflation.
Well, the yellow metal has dropped 2.3% this week, the lowest in 9 months. But what is the connection between the value and the rise in treasury yield, and also the fact that there's a stronger dollar? I don't get the connection. If you could just explain that a bit. And then what else do we need to know about the Chinese economic plan unveiled today, beyond the estimate of a 6% growth, GDP growth in 2021?
Stronger dollar, gold's priced in dollars. Stronger dollar makes it less attractive. It also is less. It's not that attractive because when you're seeing yield rising in bonds and so on, and particularly equities, people move out of it. That's all. I mean, it's just seen as a safe haven currency. Very old-fashioned, but it is there. You can have a gold bar if you want one. You know, so it's quite a good. It's quite a good. Physical thing to be able to say there's nothing virtual about this. There it is. It's on my desk. It's a gold bar and it's worth it. But of course, its value fluctuates depending on the dollar, because I mean it's priced in dollars, and the higher the dollar, the more expensive it gets, and vice versa. And of course, if you're looking ahead to interest rates rising, then it makes it even less attractive because you're looking to the future, maybe buying bonds rather than gold. So that's that. Your other question was. OPEC, was it? Did you want to
economic plan?
Sorry?
China's 5-year economic plan.
Oh, China, yeah, okay. So, I mean, I have to say, I saw that 6% figure. How would you know? It's Congress is that I think much more importantly is it's reaching out to South Korea. I think if they get a sort of bilateral trade deal going, I think that'll be quite good. It's clearly realizing that its protectionism and its isolationism is not working. There wasn't a figure quoted for growth last year, as I said. This year it's 6%. I think it probably will be. They will quote below that to make themselves look good, like most people do. So they will pretend to underdeliver. I think when we actually look at what's really happened, if again you believe the figures, I think growth will be higher than that. But it's a good figure. Wouldn't everybody like that kind of growth?
I mean, one other country growing like wildfire is Turkey. 6% growth amidst all the pandemic. Thank you so much for your time, Michael. For update on COVID-19 pandemic, Adeso has been here for every single day since we had the index case of the Italian in Nigeria. Adeso, great to have you. Wonderful, stellar job you've been doing.
Well, thank you very much, Rufai. Thank God it's Friday. Good morning, Tunu.
Morning,
you look absolutely beautiful this morning.
So kind. Thank you, Twinny.
And good morning, Dr. Batty.
Good morning.
You both look dapper, by the way. Let's go into it. Globally, so far, there have been 115.5 million cases of the coronavirus infections, and the United States remains the most affected country with over 28.8 million confirmed cases. Now, looking at the death tolls, there has now been over 2.5 million deaths due to the coronavirus. Here in Nigeria, the second wave continues to surge. Yesterday, the NCDC confirmed 708 new cases in 21 states, with the most infections coming from Adamawa State. Well, it's recorded 180 cases, followed by Lagos with 141 infections. That's not the correct one we have on the screen at the moment. Apologies for that. Nigeria recorded 708 cases yesterday. Now, we've seen that different countries have had different approaches to their vaccination campaign rollout. Well, unlike in some other countries where you see political leaders getting the first jab, we have now been told that in Nigeria, health workers will be first in line to get their coronavirus jabs this morning once NAFDAC approves in the nation's capital, Abuja. This would then be followed by the president and the vice president on Saturday. Now, the hint came from the head of the NPHCDA, Dr. Faisal Shuaib, who said that the President Muhammadu Buhari, and Vice President Professor Yemi Oshibajo may be getting their jabs on Saturday morning, of course, publicly. It is hoped that this will give confidence to other Nigerians who are hesitant about the vaccines. Then the next vaccination would then move to states where governors and their deputies are expected to take their jabs, also in public, between the 9th and the 12th of March. The dates vary. However, states yet to meet requirements such as cold room storage, security for those storage facilities would not be given vaccine, according to Dr. Faisal Shuaib. That's decentralizing the vaccines now to states, which we've talked about. As we know, this vaccination is coming at a time the country is facing immense security challenges. There are also logistical challenges in transporting these vaccines to states. We know for sure that Kakovic stepped in to provide a cargo plane, but those states without airports will require vans with code-fitted cabins from the nearest airport. It's a clear reminder that it is one thing to get vaccines, it's another to get them into the arms of the population. But the question remains, what have we been doing all this while we're waiting for the vaccines? And you recall that these vaccines we have from the Oxford AstraZeneca, courtesy of the COVAX facility, came at no cost to the Nigerian government. So again, what have we been doing in preparation? That's a question waiting to be answered, and in a couple of days we would see how the states have prepared. I understand we might go on a break anytime soon. Are we ready for that break?
Right. I think we should just take it quickly, and this is why we'll come back and we'll talk some more about this. Thank you. Right, welcome back to the Morning Show right here on the Rise News channel. This is why we'll come back to you.
Thank you, Rufai. So, as I said, Nigeria is to commence its vaccination rollout today in the nation's capital, Abuja. Arise would be covering that live. We're told 10 a.m., so barring any last-minute changes, that should happen. I also told you that the president and vice president, I expected, may take their vaccines tomorrow on live television, we've been told. But away from Nigeria, a shipment of about 250,000 Oxford AstraZeneca vaccines have been blocked, destined for Australia, have been blocked by the EU. Now, this came at the behest of Italy and backed by the EU, like I said. It's the first time, and it's coming under the use of an export control system instituted by the bloc to make sure that big pharmaceutical companies would respect their contracts. The EU has been specifically angry with AstraZeneca because it is delivering far fewer doses to the bloc than it had promised. Of the initial 80 million doses the EU ordered for the first quarter, the company will be struggling to deliver just half of that quantity at the moment. And finally, this morning, the WHO says women account for a slightly smaller proportion of COVID-19 infections and deaths compared with men in its preliminary analysis in 28 countries. That's women are less likely to die from COVID-19 and get infected. Now, the analysis of the data came from 28 countries in Africa. And it ranges, although women are about 41% likely to get infected, it ranges from countries to countries. For instance, in Niger, it's about 31%, and in South Africa, it's about 57%. Dr. Moeti, the head of the WHO in Africa, made this known during a press conference yesterday, facilitated by the Apple Group. And she said although women are also less likely to die from the disease, unlike men, the pandemic has exposed gaps in health services, with women suffering the brunt of the disrupted access to health care.
Yes, because it cuts across so many things, like even routine smear tests, mammograms, and then obviously maternal care. It's such a complex situation. But that seems to support the findings of the seroprevalence test, doesn't it? That men are more affected than women.
Indeed.
Yes. On to President Buhari and Vice President Oshibajo. I think that is really important, what they're doing. They should be commended for that. Because unlike President Trump, who was, behind closed doors with his wife getting the vaccines, while a lot of his supporters are complete anti-vaxxers. This is actually demonstrating the safety of the vaccine. And for those who are still doubting the potency or the efficacy of the AstraZeneca jab for over 65s, the president and vice president are over 65. They trust it. So the message is that we all can. And also about EU, Italy and Australia. Do you think that the British right now are feeling quite smug and vindicated with Brexit? Because this EU vaccine rollout has been a little bit shambolic.
I think they are, Tundu. I think it was the best decision they made not to be part of the bloc. Just ahead of the vaccination rollouts, they have, vaccinated quite a lot of people, one of the highest countries in the world, compared to what we're seeing going on in the bloc.
Yeah. Dr. Faisal Shaib's point about the preparedness of the states, I think it's important. You'll recall that on this program before now, we've only had reports of 2 states that have made efforts to secure cold storage facilities long ahead of the arrival of the vaccine. Ekiti State and also Kaduna, where there was even a collaboration to deploy drones to assist with the distribution of the vaccines. Yes. We just hope that other states are ready. And those states that are not ready they have to hurry up if there is still time to do so. But the good news, of course, is that for the AstraZeneca vaccine, you just need, the storage is +2, +8 degrees centigrade. So that should not be difficult for the various states. Now, the president and the vice president coming forward to take the vaccine, that's good. It will build confidence. It will encourage Nigerians. But at the same time, that event, which we're told may happen tomorrow, should not become another reception ceremony. It should carry the seriousness that, should be attached to it. Because at the end of the day, the president and the VP, they have the leadership responsibility, but at the same time, it's also for their own good, for their own safety, to take the vaccine. So it shouldn't be, we don't expect that we'll see banners tomorrow, and a reception ceremony. As for Italy and Australia, yes, vaccine war, vaccine nationalism, all over again, But Australia says it is not bothered, because in any case, the 300,000 doses that it started with the rollout last week, with the immunization program last week, that they have no plans yet for the consignment that has been blocked, the 250,000 doses that the Italians have chosen to block. But Mario Draghi, the new leader of Italy, is one of the most vocal on this issue of the vaccine, because he thinks that, he's more interested in making sure that he takes care of his own people first. And the rule of the export control imposed by the EU Commission is that those, manufacturing companies that have factories in Europe will not be allowed to take consignment of vaccines out of Europe when there is a shortfall in terms of the contract that they have with the European countries. In this particular case, shortfall of about 70%, and that really is where the issue is.
Really, for me, that's a lot of people, public service announcement, please do not hoard the vaccine. Please do not store it in your storage house. Please, it's not for your birthday parties as souvenirs. Please give it to the people that truly need the vaccines. And for all of those that are going to take their vaccines abroad, I think they should minus there so that other people can take vaccine on their behalf, please. I've just said that. All right. Thank you so much, Adesua, for your time.